The Scott Ryfun Radio Show.
Hi. Sorry about that. We were the storm yesterday. We had the power outage yesterday afternoon, and it was a little more disruption in here than I thought there had been. And so I was having to get everything kind of back in place, back up and running and everything. So sorry about that. Hey, how are you? Welcome to Monday morning. Good to have you here. Hope your weekend went great. What have we got going on today in the chat? Paul gives us our thumbs up. We can't start our day without a thumbs up from Paul, so we appreciate that, sir. Mikey jumps in. Always an early adopter, Mikey is. And again, one of the two fantastic co-hosts of the Cinema Debrief podcast. Check it out. Joe says hi. Good morning. Greetings, programs. It takes me back a little bit. 161, ready for some news. What kind of news do you want? What kind of news do you want? Monday. That's right. Gary says happy Monday. Charles from Jessup says good morning, Scott and friends. Good morning. Ready for another week of being that guy? Well, we all have our burdens. Good morning, all 200-ish of the South Georgia 40 folks. 33, I had a graffiti to post first thing, but I forgot it. That's a bad thing that happens. That's a bad thing. Good foggy. Is it foggy out there? Haven't been outside. Haven't even looked at the weather forecast yet this morning. Morning. Chuck says good morning. Sally says good morning. Finally, the coconuts get a W over the banana. Oh, did the bananas lose over the weekend? I saw that they were on TV. I watched about 2 seconds of it. And I'm trying to remember why, but I was moving on to something else at that point. Dwayne says, good morning, number 180. Becky, number 193, checks in. Steve says, happy Monday. And Lynn says, woof, woof. There you go. And, of course, there's the folks from Island Dog. So I guess I'll give a real quick update as I'm going through our greetings for this morning, and just give you a little Gaston update. Friday morning, or actually Thursday evening, Otis Putnam reached out to me and said he was going to do some video. And if you've not seen any of the stuff that Otis Putnam does, it's really neat. And he's got a YouTube channel, just like I've got a YouTube channel. And I would suggest go check it out. And he puts a lot of the stuff on Facebook. It's easy to see. And he does a lot of video that is sometimes historically relevant, sometimes current events relevant, but often in some form relevant to the area. And he reached out to me Thursday night. He said, I'm going to go to Animal Services tomorrow, and I'm going to video some dogs. Would you like to go down there and have Gaston spotlighted? No, yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. And I was going to be working out of the public safety complex anyway. So it was kind of no big deal for me to just be there and show up early and do that before I went over to the office. And wound up meeting a lot of the volunteers out there, which, again, based on some of the things I'm going to be doing soon, was a good thing to meet those guys, because I'll be working with a lot of them, helping them get some homes for some of these animals. And but we spent some time. They were taking photos of some of the new kids on the block. They did a really good job. And I will tell you that almost every one of the new dogs wound up climbing into my lap at some point. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But we did get some good footage of Gaston. And, it was one of those things where they brought him into this room. And I told you how he was in the adoption room. He was real timid, really. And then once you got him out of there, he was fantastic. And they brought him into this room, and he was just alive the second they put him in the big room, took the leash off of him, and he just was going crazy. He was just a great little dog. Hard for me to believe that that he has not been adopted yet, and that he's actually on that list. He's been there for over 630 days, which is insane for me to think about, but it's true. But anyway, so the video got put out, and I shared it, and Otis put it out, and I think some other people shared it as well. I think it got shared around pretty nicely. And the stakes have been upped, because now not only do we have, I'm offering to pay his adoption fee. Robbie Roberts has already given me a $100 gift card to Island Dog. Island Dog is kicking in $100. Noah Ring is kicking in $100. But now they've got, basically they're being offered whoever adopts him is going to get to take him and put him into obedience classes to the tune of $300 worth. So, you're going to make money off of this. You will net out, the $50 adoption fee plus about $600 in goodies, $650 basically to bring this dog home and make it your dog. And if you're not sure, you can foster him. You can take him home and live with him as if he is yours. And then when you decide that he actually is yours, you can go ahead and go through with the final steps of actually adopting the dog. But he is there. He is fun. He's a good kid. He does enjoy his treats and his snacks. And he's gonna make somebody a good dog. I promise you. Yes, we're here. We're alive. James is here. Good to have you here. Pace here. Good to see you. Get a little wave from David. John says, howdy. Good to have you here. Jerry still saying, are you doing it from two different accounts? I see. Otis videos are great. Love the local history. Yeah, Otis, he does a good job. He does a good job. Interesting. Judge revised his order. Really? Oh, Henry Ball, don't tease me. We got to have him on. We got to have Henry on the program. There's certain people that we need to have on with a certain sense of regularity. You know what else we need to have on? We need to have on Rick Townsend. Rick Townsend sent me something the other day that I want to get into. I don't have the video uploaded, so you're just going to have to take it from me just reading it to you, but I want to get into it this morning. 69 checking in on both channels. We appreciate that. Tia says, good morning. Young man that I saw in Target the other night says good morning. There's more morning there. Even more. Did Ben Jones die? I did not see that. See, that's why I count on you guys to give me some of this stuff. Former Congressman Ben Cooter Jones has passed away. That's sad. Philip says good morning. Number 32 there. Good morning. Just hope the pup gets adopted and gets a good home. You and me both. Mrs. Island Dog would love $199 if it's available today. Let me see. Let's see what is coming up today. We try to max out. Well, 198 is next. Is 198 okay, or does it have to be? Do you want to hold off for another person? We can do that. Look like a growing homeless camp under the 303 bridge on the Blythe Island side. Oh, that's always good. Nothing better than that. I'll tell you this too. That the guy in the I don't know if you saw this footage the other day. The guy that lives in the RV on the causeway. And we do these weird things in our community where we adopt things we shouldn't be adopting. Kern's going to take 198 for you so that the Island Dog folks can have 199. How about that? Okay. Well, Kern certainly deserves it, no doubt. Okay. And then the Climps. I'm going to give you a combined 199. There we go. All right. So anyway, we adopt these things. The guy in the RV, and then he pulled out in front of somebody on 17 a couple weeks ago, as we all know. and his RV got smashed into little pieces, and the people who hit him got hurt because he pulled out in front of them. So there was a big campaign to get this guy a new RV because he was living out of his RV. And again, there are some choices that are made there that you have to ask questions about, but nobody asked the questions. And then they had a big fundraiser, and people contributed and bought the guy a new RV, which, you know, if anybody wants to buy me an RV, I'll take it. But they bought this guy a new RV, and then there's footage of him the other day just zooming out into the causeway, just about plowing into people and doing the same thing that he plowed into, or they got plowed into the other day for, just pulling right out in front of people, going at speed in his giant RV. And so, you know, I'm just going to tell you this: if it happens again, and they start another GoFundMe for him, you will find me. I didn't speak out against the other one. I sat back and said, well, people are going to people. Let them people. This point, the guy is officially becoming a public menace. At this point, the guy is becoming a public health threat, not to mention he's a vagabond. Sorry, I'm just putting it out there. I know people feel for the guy, and I get it. I get it. I understand feeling, but I also understand thinking. I'm a bigger fan of thinking than of feeling. I'm sorry, I'm hearing some really weird noises. Hopefully that's G-Man taking a shower. I don't know. How do you get a free RV? Apparently you have an old RV and you pull out in front of people and get it plowed into. That's how. Why no fundraiser for the people who got injured because he pulled out in front? There's a great question. That is a great, great question, Brad. You get a gold star today on your Lifebuoy chart because of that question. That is a gold star caliber question. Quickly, meetings planned for new Mainland Library. And I got asked last week if somebody had sent me a press release on this. And I said, no, I did not get a press release on this. And I don't know if it's because I'm not on the radio anymore. I don't know what it is, but is there news on the radio front? Sort of. We have dialogue is open. I'll just say that, and we've made a volley, and it's up to them to counter the volley. But dialogue is open. That's what I will say. And again, I want to thank my attorney, who's a bang up guy. And I'm hoping what this means is that I'll be able to do freedom pretty soon, but we'll see. And if they don't, I'll just go ahead and tell you this. If they don't, there will be like pictures of me in a jail cell pouting. Oh, I know. I've already got the offensive going, the very public offensive. You know, you didn't want him. Why not let him go do his job? Somebody else wants him to do his job. Let him do his job. So we'll get into that. We'll get into that. No doubt. Pat says, good morning. Morning. I'm feeling completely numberless today. I can't even count on myself. Very nice. Very nice. Well, it sounds like you probably need a number then. All right. You're 200. You made it to 200. Congratulations. All right, Brad. I ran into Brad. What, Friday night? Sounds like he might not be the best driver. Take some good situational awareness to drive an RV. I'll tell you that one of the reasons I don't have an RV. Well, there's a lot of reasons. I'll count the reasons I don't have an RV, because I'm going to tell you something. When I was a kid, and this was probably inspired by Shazam, I'll be honest. When I was a kid, I wanted like my car. I was like, when I was a kid, when I grow up, my car is going to be an RV. Because I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world. Like if you're at a stoplight or stop sign, not stop sign, stoplight. Yeah, red light. You can just get up and go hang out in your home until the light changes. And then you come back and get in and keep driving. I just thought that was the neatest thing. Like wherever you went, your home was with you. And so all your stuff was there. And I was a big fan of that. I thought, man, that's going to be the best. And then as I got older, and we even, like when we were first married, we were entertaining the notion of it. And then we started really looking into it and realizing that, you know, you have to do a lot of work. I mean, you have to, you know, it takes, and then we started going, okay, so you pay a lot of money for this thing and then you have to do a lot of work. Or you can go stay in a hotel and they do all the work and you still pay, you know, some of the money. but they do all the work. And hotels sounded a lot better to me after that, sadly. Also, I'm just not a good one. Well, we'll see. We'll see how it works out. We'll see how it works out. But we've got an opening volley with them that is very, 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 very well done, and we'll see what happens from there. Why are you using caps when you refer to RV guy? I don't know. It seems kind of formal. I don't know. Anyway, let me get back to this library story, because it's time for me to like step in and say, hey, remember my idea like 10 years ago? And it was a very serious idea then. It's a very serious idea now. Let me read you the article. I think this is Gordon Jackson. The Marshes of Glen Libraries will hold 2 public meetings to get public input on proposed facilities master plan. Jerry Mullis, director of Marshes of Glen Libraries, said the first meeting at 1 p.m. on August 13th at the casino building on St. Simon's Island will be to discuss possible renovations to the building originally constructed in 1928. And this was a weird thing to say. A library has been in the casino building since 1937, which also held a bowling alley until 1950, she said. Okay. Thought that was odd. Random thing to say. Now the building is dated. That's right. When it had a bowling alley, not dated. I think people should point that out. If they just would add a bowling alley to it, it would no longer be dated. One suggestion is a new entrance to the St. Simon's Library, because the entrance goes through an atrium that is often used for weddings and other events, making it difficult to open on Saturdays. And that's true. Yeah, if you're having a wedding and you have that atrium to yourself, and then you have people like walking by with books to return them, it kind of takes away from it. Although, they could just integrate themselves into your celebration. That would not be a terrible thing. Anyway, later in the day, another public hearing will be held at the main library in downtown Brunswick, where discussions will be held on a possible third library in Glen Canny. This is where I go back to my idea from way back when. And it does use the dreaded term public-private partnership. But if you're going to do something like that, I think this is the circumstance wherein you do it. Let's see. Many say the Brunswick Library is too far from their homes. For 12 years, we've known the main library is too far, she said. Mullis said the intent of the meeting is for public input for the best location. We envision it will likely be in North Glen Canny. We want it to be near a neighborhood area. We get asked all the time about it. But there may be other areas of the Canny that people would prefer for a new library besides North Glen. We don't want to discount other areas, she said. Okay, here we go. And I talked about this. I talked about it specifically with Starbucks. And I'm going to say this again. And it's probably going to go absolutely nowhere. You team up with a private entity, whether it's Starbucks or Eliano's or, somebody who wants people in there sitting and doing things. And you have a digital library. It's a branch of the library, but it also has a coffee shop or whatever. And somebody can make money off of that. And that's where, and they should foot most of the bill for this. And then the library's part is they supply tablets or e-readers. And then you can access the contents of a complete, and then you don't have to worry about having 2 sets of information, 2 sets of data, the big reason I go to the library usually is to look at the old Brunswick News collection. I can do that at the public library, or I can do it at the College of Coastal Georgia. I'll be honest with you, they've got these new digital microfilm readers, which are not good. They're not good. Learning curve is ridiculous. Nobody there to teach you the learning curve. And even when you get on the learning curve, the resolution is just not as good as actual optical viewing of a microfilm. But I digress. But the thing is, you're not gonna get a whole second set of that. All the historical documents. I was there the other day, actually, late July, so week before last, I guess, because I was working last week. What am I talking about? My last week of not working. And I was out there doing just some research thing. There were people in there also doing some research on some historical stuff. you're not going to have that kind of thing in a second branch of the library. At best, you're going to have books, and that's about it. And books are great. I think I'm on record as being somewhat of a fan of books. I don't think anybody could question whether or not I actually like books. That having been said, tablets and e-readers, and then you have the entire contents of a library available to people digitally while they're there. And there is an app where you can check stuff out from the library, including video and all that other stuff, because my wife watches a TV show on her library app. So, I mean, these things can be done. And that way you don't have to have one library in North Glen and go, gosh, there may be some other areas that might want one. You can have 3, you could have 4, you could have 7. As long as the company that you're partnering with finds it profitable to build these things, and you get the grant and use the grant to digitize a collection or to acquire a digital collection or whatever. And then just have tablets and e-readers that are library. You check it out, you use it, you turn it back in when you're done, and you move on. But it seems a lot more efficient to me than building a new library somewhere. It's certainly a smaller footprint. It's certainly more likely to get casual. And that's the other thing, too, because I think we all want more people reading. I think that's the thing. It would actually get more people reading because you'd get more people in it. Because some people would just be going there for the coffee or whatever. Some people would just be going there for the coffee shop aspect of it. And you'd hook them. You'd hook some of them. You wouldn't hook all of them, but still. You'd get some foot traffic. And it wouldn't just be homeless guys trying to live in the bathroom. Because that's a real thing. You have to, I had to walk around the homeless people when I was at the library the other day. And honestly, library employees shouldn't have to deal with that. And the public, general public should also not have to deal with that. That's what I'm saying. All right, let's get back to this. Lynn, can you have one? I think we gave you guys $1.99. Let's see. Graffiti. I am sitting back seeing if Buc-ee's is going to sue me next. Yeah, they're starting to go after people like crazy. Wake Up Coffee will be a great partner. Thank you, Kern. That is terrific. That is a great idea, Kern. Wake Up Coffee. They're kind of in expansion mode, although I guess they did close that one little drive-through one down on Altama, but otherwise they're thriving. They're prospering. And it would be a good way for them to kind of partner and, they could bear some of the expense of the expansion, and then, some of the expense can be borne by, the library, and the rest of the grant money can be used to acquire digital assets. And I think Wake Up Coffee would be a really good partner for that. Absolutely would be a good partner. Can I put that in the suggestion box at work? I don't know. I'm still learning the ropes, man. It's, and there's a lot of rope. I'll just tell you that. Good morning, Mr. Ivey, my fellow members of the 40, the South Georgia 40, number 111, right there. All right, so let's move on to the next story. But anyway, you've heard I've held forth about this a number of times over the years when they weren't talking about expanding the library, and me just saying, hey, what would be a really good idea is if you could have just satellite libraries all over the place, have e-libraries and public-private partnership, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it's a thing. I'm bringing it back up now because they're talking about expanding. And this way, again, you don't have to expand in just one spot. You can expand in many different places. Grants are the devil. Grants absolutely are the devil, but they're also there. That's what I've talked about before. They are the devil, but you can't expect people at the local level to not go after them because the money's there and somebody else will get it. Period. Let's see. Wake Up on Altama moved across from the. Oh, that's right. They went over to the gathering place thing, didn't they? That's right. Yeah. So Wake Up would be a really good partner for that, I would think. I'm not going to speak for them, but they are definitely people on the rise. So, Porch Fest. They have a theme this year of Porch Fest, which is Porch Invaders. I don't know why or how. I've never actually attended Porch Fest. I know people love Porch Fest. I know what they say, 15,000 people showed up for Porch Fest last year. So people love it. They get into Porch Fest and they go see all the bands. They enjoy themselves. And the big thing is, if you want to be a band and be in Porch Fest, you have until September 15th to get involved in Porch Fest. But Porch, it's a neat event. I mean, it's one of those things when you talk about downtowns, and Porch Fest is semi-downtown, but downtowns should have a personality and a style and a certain, character. And that's one of those things that contributes to the character and the personality and the style of that area. No doubt about it. All right, let's see. This was posted in the paper of record. It's been posted a little bit. I want to get into this some because I know some people are going to go screaming about this, but I want us to kind of sit back and take a moment here. And this is not as a guy who is an employee of Glenn County at this point. This is a guy who's realistic about the world. The Glenn County Board of Commissioners has tentatively adopted a 2026 millage rate, which will require an increase in property tax by, I would think that would be of 6.65%. Now let's talk about this for a second, because people are going to run around screaming, they're raising our taxes. And the reality is the tax rate is the same. This is a thing that was passed by the state legislature a while back, and I kind of get the intention behind it, but it also winds up being very misleading and very misunderstood. And that is, anytime the tax digest goes up and you don't roll the tax rate back to keep the revenue generated in the tax digest flat, you have to advertise it you're required by law to advertise it as a tax increase. Which is crazy, because like if the price of bread goes up, well, the bread's not a good example. The price of goods at the store goes up, you're going to be paying more in sales tax, but they don't have to advertise that as an increase in the sales tax. It's the same thing. I mean, the millage is essentially a percentage of the value of your property. Now, here's the thing about it. There's a couple of things. In fact, let me pull up this chart, which shows you your taxes have not actually gone up. But if you go back to 2021, your net millage was 4.453. It got rolled back in 2022. It got rolled back again in 2023. 2023, 24, 25, 26, 3.864. Come in. Quit whining. Hang on a second. Somebody's come in. Push the door. She's sitting at the door whining because she wants in. Come in. Just push the door. Lady would push the door. You can push the door too. I don't want to. All right. Yeah. Okay. Are you happy now? All right. Anyway, so we look at the millage rate here. You got 3864, 3864, 3864, 3864, and the advertised one for next year is 3864. It's the same millage rate. If you have the Scarlett Williams exemption, and double check if you need to. I did the other week. I was like, am I actually getting this Scarlett? Okay, let me go check. And we did. We had the Scarlett Williams exemption locked in. I just wanted to make sure we were correct on that. If you have the Scarlett Williams exemption, your taxes are not going to go up a dime. In fact, what I think is remarkable is if you look at the chart here, they did not roll taxes back in 2024. There was a 6% increase in the digest. 2025, there's a 15.3% increase in the digest, which is incredible. Last year, 6.78. And then this year's going to be 6.65. Now, understand, that is a tax digest that people who live here and own their own homes are not paying extra into. So there's kind of a hidden increase in the digest that's just kind of sitting there below the surface. We're continuing to see these kinds of increases, even with all of the properties that are locked in from Scarlett Williams. To me, that's the real story here, is how much everything tax digest wise is just going up in this town, in this county. That's the hidden story. But it's again, you're not actually having your taxes increased, especially if you have Scarlett Williams. even if the value of your property went up, your tax valuation is the same unless you make a major change to your home. You know, if you build a wing onto your home, you're going to get reappraised. But otherwise, you do simple maintenance to it and that kind of thing. That's not going to cancel your Scarlett Williams and call for a reappraisal. But you know, if you add a garage to the end, then you're going to get reappraised. But most people, you're not going to see an increase. But they're required by law to advertise that as an increase. That is a state legislature thing. And again, I get it on the one hand. On the other hand, it's a bit much, especially when we have Scarlett Williams here. Let's see. Great plan. People like many places to hang out, meet friends, get coffee, do library callings and interests, have a creative logo, very visible outside where people can quickly identify designated satellite. Like, yes. And if you ever go to the Starbucks on Altama, or, by the way, and they're building Eliano's across the street from that, it's hard to get a seat. Because there are times when I'm out and I need to just sit and work and I'm out that way and I'll go in there and try to sit and do some work. It's hard to, because there so many people are taking those seats and using their Wi-Fi and, you know, and at the same time they're buying, because you don't go in there and just sit and not buy something. I don't, it's rude. But yeah, it's, I think I like that. I like have a logo outside that is, you know, this is a library. This is a public library and Starbucks and Wake Up Coffee and Eliano's, whatever works. But that kind of place, I think, would work. It would be nice if every town had a bookstore. It would be wonderful if every town had a bookstore. It'd be wonderful if we had more bookstores in these towns, to tell you the truth. Cumulative inflation has been something like 35% since COVID. The numbers go up, but I guarantee the buying power hasn't. Yeah, but the property values around here have gone way, way, way up. Digital campers. Stick the library in one of the old mall places. Well, you know, when I was in Tallahassee, I'll tell you this, my freshman year in Tallahassee, they were building a library, which I don't think it was finished for the whole 4 years I was there. I think it was like right at the end it was finished. I've been in it, but I think it was like right at the end of my stay there. But my freshman year, the library was in the old Northwood Mall. It was just there, which was right down from Tallahassee Mall. And by that time, Northwood was just it was not a cool place to hang out. I'll just say that. It had devolved to the level of the import stores and that kind of thing. But that was where the library was. And one of the first things I did when I got in Tallahassee was go get a library card at that library. And I think the first book I checked out was The Godfather, to tell you the truth. But yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be unprecedented. The only thing is you got to pay rent. In my plan, everybody's you know, everybody's got a stake in it, so we're okay. You know, they're not having to pay rent all the time. They've just got a place. Gloucester, Virginia has a library in a strip mall. Yeah, I totally believe that. Like I said, and especially, you know, I was actually talking to G-Man yesterday, and he was, you know, he's in real estate now and banking, and we were talking about the fact that there's apparently a nationwide glut of strip mall availabilities. Like we, as a nation, we've overbuilt strip malls. And I know the philosophy 20 something years ago was you have a business, and rather than your store, you finance a strip mall, and then you rent out the other stores, and then they kind of pay the nut on the strip mall. And apparently there just too many people have done that at this point. We've got a glut of strip mall space now around the country. So yeah, I mean, it would be a good place to put it's not attractive. It's not showy. It's not beautiful, but it's practical. But again, I still go with you can meet up at a coffee shop and make it into a digital library. And then you don't have to worry about the books. You don't have to worry about buying inventory. You don't have to worry about the historical collection, which should all be scanned anyway. The historical collection, those documents that they have in there, all of that stuff should be scanned anyway. Because one good fire and it's toast. It should be scanned and it should be in the cloud. All of it. The microfilms, the old newspapers, the old magazines. I got a huge collection of the Islander just sitting there. All that stuff should be scanned and in the cloud anyway. And it should be accessible to library patrons anyway. So, this would just kind of get it down that road towards happening. Frederica Academy turns loss into motivation. This is an interesting article, and it's an interesting article for a couple of reasons. One, it talks about the fact that Frederica has had to deal with losing players because they're a private school, and you can, unlike the public schools, you can go and recruit. Now, I would say when people see this article, there are some who are going to say, well, yeah, and they've recruited from public schools, because I think over the years they have. There have been some good players who've left the public schools and gone to Frederica, and they've done well. And Frederica's had a great program. And Brandon Derrick, let me just tell you, Brandon Derrick is a heck of a coach. And because you got to understand, I have spent the last several years sitting on Sunday nights with Rocky Hidalgo, with the Brunswick High coach of the moment, and with Brandon Derrick. And they're all interesting in their own way, and we've had some really good coaches here. But Brandon Derrick's a guy who is holding a program together with pretty much spit and tinfoil and maybe a little baling wire, and that's about it, because you have so few kids, and yet he's had tremendous success. And when you hear him just kind of go over everything and just kind of talk about strategy and philosophy and the things he sees, it's pretty remarkable. My understanding, one of the reasons I bring this one up, is my understanding is there was a version of this that was posted online that is not the same as the print version and was yanked. And Brandon may have been feeling a little bit of frustration that day from what I'm told. Now, I never saw the article, but I'm being told that there was a version of this that maybe got a little saltier than it should have. I'll just say that. All right, let's see. Good morning, all from 188. Let's see. FSU library burned down. Luckily, saved. Look at you. The library at FSU was the Strozier Library, and they used to have these little like study carols, and they had a VCR and a little 9-inch Sony Trinitron in the study carols. And as a freshman, I didn't have a VCR. So if I wanted to go watch a video, I would take some headphones. You remember the old spongy Walkman headphones, and take those down to the library, and I'd sit at a study carrel, and I would just sit and watch the thing. So I actually did some math, and I had come to the point where I had seen a Star Wars movie of some form 97 times. And I had just bought with my Christmas money the trilogy on VHS, and I didn't have a VCR. And so I made a plan one day where I just I packed a lunch, brought it in my duffel bag. You weren't supposed to have food. I packed a lunch, snuck it into my duffel bag, and sat at the study carrel and watched the trilogy on the 9-inch Sony Trinitron in the study carrel. And so by the end of the day, and I'd literally spent all day, because it was, 2, 4, 6, like 7 hours a movie. And by the time I was done, I had seen a Star Wars film 100 times of some sort, one of the three. And that was like the day I spent. It was like a Saturday. I didn't waste class time doing this, but I did do that on a Saturday. And that was an achievement. And of course, I did it on the little 9-inch TV. Now, the weird thing is, the little 9-inch Sony Trinitron, I'm watching Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park one day, and I realize that Abner Devereaux, the Phantom of the Park, the evil scientist, has on his control panel a bunch of those exact same 9-inch Sony Trinitrons. So I guess he wasn't that sophisticated, but he seemed sophisticated at the time. Let's see. Coach Brandon uses RV guys duct tape at FA. Yeah, and still does great. Brand Derek doing more with less for 14 years. There you go. And of course, greetings and salutations to everybody. But yeah, I'm told there was a much saltier version of this article that escaped online and was quickly pulled. But and I get how these guys, but I will also say this. I know that the athletic department has been frustrated at times with Frederica as well. So but yeah, it's that world too. Let's be honest. I mean, the guys, you got this great player on your team, and then suddenly his dad has a great job in Valdosta or whatever. I'm not, not specifically picking on Valdosta, but you know what I'm saying. That tends to happen. Let's see really quickly. Oh, yes, this. Oh, my goodness. We were just talking the other day about how everybody's kind of lying about Trump administration cuts. Because everybody's going crazy. Oh, Trump administration has cut our program, and no, we can't do anything because we don't have our program because they cut it. The Trump administration. It turns out, like, you look at the numbers, and the Trump administration has cut almost nothing. And it's a two-way thing. Like I said, everybody's lying about it because the people who live on the government teat are lying about it because they want more money, and the people who are diehard nothing but Trump the only Trumpers lie about it because Trump's making great cuts. He's making great and of course our budget deficit has gone from 2 trillion to 2.3 trillion, which kind of indicates, at least in a net fashion, we haven't made any cuts. But yeah, this thing, this is great. And they pulled it. It was on the front page of Savannah Morning News, and now it's not. So let me see if I can find it really quickly. Because there's some doozies. First off, a doozy is of this picture of a uterus with the scales of justice hanging from it. And first off, that should not be on the front page of the paper. Secondly, that should not be anything your kids are being taught about, as a uterus with the scales of justice hanging from it, which tells you, again, who these guys are. Oh, this is interesting. No, it's not even coming up on a search of the site. I may have to call an audible here and just Google it in general, because they stole it from, they used it from another article, or for another publication. Yeah, there it is. Okay, we do have it. Okay, good. Got it. Jordan Anderson for The Imprint. And it says the story was originally published by The Imprint, a national nonprofit news outlet covering child welfare and youth justice. Sign up for The Imprint's free newsletters here. Let me just go ahead and tell you, you know this, but I'm going to go ahead and say it out loud anyway. 99% of the time these days, when you hear the word justice, that is a substitute for left-wingery. I think you know that. I know that. American people know that. So when you hear, and especially when you hear youth justice, and when you just see the word justice randomly thrown into a place where you don't expect to see the word justice, guarantee you there is rampant left-wingery going on. For nearly a decade, the sex education workshops run by Good Deeds Now have taught thousands of Georgia teenagers about safe sex, healthy relationships, and abstinence. Notice they throw abstinence in there, but they don't do it until the very end. And why do they do that? Because they want to cover their butts. Because these are not abstinence programs. I'm sorry. This is not an abstinence program. Especially when their primary thing is, we got to make sure they have safe sex and abstinence. That's Butt Covering 101. Funded through a federal initiative designed to combat teen pregnancy, the nonprofit's age-appropriate lessons have been offered to middle and high school students. But in late June, that work came to an abrupt end after the Trump administration announced it was canceling a majority of grants that have funded evidence-based programs nationwide, including the one at Good Deeds Now. That's right. Everything Trump opposes is science. Please understand the language of the people that you're talking about here. Anytime the Trump administration opposes anything, it's science. And science can never be questioned, and science is never bad, and science is never wrong. That's what it's science, evidence-based. That's science. Of course, evidence-based, Trump administration without evidence, right? You hear that parallel, right? You hear, I talk about it all the time, but they're constantly, anytime anybody in the administration says anything, they say without evidence. By the way, let's look at this. Let's look at this picture. First off, you've got the uterus with the scales of justice. Then you've got the no means no. You know that one. That was a 90s thing. Remember the country singer? Who was it? Who was the country singer that got in trouble for doing when I say no, I mean maybe? Which, again, no is part of the dance. I hate to tell you, but it's part of the dance men and women have done for a long time. Women are supposed to say no first. So when you say no and you just would you like to go out tonight? No. Okay. Well, I'll never ask you again for the rest of my life. I mean, it's just not realistic. It's not the world. But then you've got this thing next to that to the left, which is some kind of pill. And I don't know if this is a birth control. It doesn't look like a birth control pill. Birth control pill was a morning after pill, an allergy pill, or some kind of pill. Then you got two people making out over here. Of course, it's racially mixed because we got to be edgy. And purple hair. Yeah, because we gotta do the purple hair. And are they lesbians? We don't know. And then there's the interracial hand holding as well. Which again, all right, whatever. But we got to be edgy. We got to be edgy about this stuff. And then I don't know if this is like an egg and the cell division. What is this? What is this supposed to be? The round thing, or is that supposed to be like condom and then what broken condom? Who knows? But the point is, it was shocking, said Vincent Dortch, the organization's CEO. Awarded under the Federal Teen Pregnancy Prevention Program, the canceled 5-year grants totaled $68 million and were terminated 2 years ahead of their scheduled end date. Notices were sent to 53 of 66 grantees by a branch of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, according to federal legislatures. Organizers were told their program normalizes or promotes sexual activity for minors and no longer aligns with federal priorities. Well, it does say right up here that they taught middle and high schoolers about safe sex. So yes, they are promoting minors having sex. Sorry. I'm sorry that you missed out on a federal grant, but believe me, plenty of people are getting federal grants right now. Plenty of people are getting federal grants. Coastal Resources Division here in Brunswick was asking for public comments for yet another proposed red snapper season in October. Oh, let's have more red snappers. We need more of that. On this day in 1846, Smithsonian Institution was chartered by the United States Congress after James Smithson donated $500,000. Where did he get $500,000 back then? I just want to see Royce White in the NBA. I saw Enes Kanter's announcement video the other day, and this is going to be fun. If you haven't seen this, a number of former NBA players announced Friday that they're eligible. They're declaring their eligibility for the WNBA draft. And this is because the WNBA will not decide what a woman is. You know, they've gotten a little, again, salty about the definition of a woman because Sophie Cunningham said, something about it in an interview in February, and they suddenly and this is how badly they want to attack these people, by the way. They dredged up an interview from February where she was asked about it and she answered it honestly. It's not like Sophie Cunningham was going on this big jag where she was waving a flag that says no trannies, while driving, riding on the top of a Jeep or something. None of that happened. She literally was asked about it and said, I don't think boys should be playing girl sports. Done. That's it. That was the end of it. But apparently it was not the end of it. And so she's being raked over the coals. And, the WNBA, of course, is fully supportive of everybody who says, yes, men should be playing women's sports. So the men have said, okay, fine. We've examined legally what it takes to be a player in the WNBA. And of course, to the left, and this is the thing that I talked about when the bathroom bills first started up and why I was very passionate about the bathroom bills and why I was very annoyed with the State Chamber of Commerce about their combating bathroom bills was that literally to the left, and I think this must be a thing people don't understand. To the left, you just say what you are, and you are that thing. You just, I could turn around right now and say, I'm a woman. And you would have to accept that I'm a beautiful woman. That's how the rule, unless, of course, you're not a leftist, and then, you're not allowed to. But anybody else who just decides to say they're a woman and puts a wig on or doesn't put a wig on, the left says, yes, this person's a woman, as long as you're a leftist. So these guys are following the rules of leftism, which is just declare you're a woman and they're a woman. And there's nothing legally. They've had legal teams going over this stuff. There's nothing in the language of the rules and the charter of the WNBA that says that if a trans person, someone who identifies as a woman, is a woman, then by golly, they can be women. So they're all going to identify as women and enter the draft and actually make it decent. I saw, golly, there are days when I wish I could share a screen on here and show video to you, because I saw like a highlight reel from Angel Reese the other day that was embarrassing. There's some embarrassingly bad basketball being played in the WNBA, which is why it historically hasn't done well. And then you get some people who are actually pretty decent in there, and all of a sudden, but they're white and they're straight. So we can't have that. In fact, I don't know if you saw this headline. Babylon Bee strikes again. Caitlin Clark explains that white privilege feels weirdly like getting beat up by giant black lesbians. I don't know if you saw the Sophie Cunningham footage the other night where she goes up for a layup and gets mauled. I mean, and you see, like, there's a little contact, and then once there's a little contact, she just leans into the contact. The offender leans into the contact. By the way, Sophie Cunningham's coach defended the player that hit her. No kidding. Didn't defend her player, defended the player that hit her. The player was ruled out of the game, and clearly for a reason. I mean, if you watch the footage, I mean, she literally hits her and then just crooks her arm to continue whacking her. And gets kicked out of the game. She goes to the locker room and says it's white privilege. So that's the root of that joke. Sophie Cunningham got clocked. And rather than learn her lesson by getting kicked out of the game, the person who clocked her said it was white privilege. That's why she got kicked out. White privilege. So I thought this was pretty good. White privilege. All right, let's do this. Let's see. No injuries reported after weekend fire. Was a fire yesterday at Statesboro High. My understanding is they have full classes. Everybody's in gear. Everything's running today, so don't worry about a single thing. Let's go back to the comments here. Science wouldn't need to plead the fifth over 100 times. True enough. Current candidate for public office was heard to remark, these days, $500,000 won't even get you a night in the Lincoln bedroom. I don't know that it would have in the 90s. Is that Ruth Bader Ginsburg's uterus? I have no idea. I mean, I guess maybe it could be on display, I guess. Groundhog Day all over again. Coastal Resources. What a waste of taxpayer money. Can't wait for the 2027 WNBA season. Hopefully Freedom and White go to the Indiana Fever with Clark and Cunningham. Well, not if their coach has anything to say about it. I got to tell you something. Indiana Fever needs a coaching change. You cannot have a coach constantly running down her own players or encouraging violence against her own players. That's just crazy. Brittany Griner's playing the WNBA. Yeah, and Brittany Griner, well, first off, we went way out of our way to get her out of jail in Russia when she broke the law. But, yeah, Brittany Griner literally walks around without a shirt on. Brittany Griner, I don't do conspiracy theories, but if you told me she was actually a man all along, I would not be shocked. Not at all. I just said I identify as a billionaire. Apparently my bank is running slow and check the app. No, you're still broke. You're still broke. Maybe the thing is, despite the, yes, that's correct. They gave her 2 free throws afterwards to hit 2 chances to hit 1 free throw, basically. But yeah, it was a layup, and if you watch the footage, she's getting clocked. Everybody's watching her getting clocked, but the ball goes in the hoop. She was wearing a blonde wig. There you go. The clocker. She was wearing a blonde. You're absolutely right. She was wearing a blonde wig Hold on. I don't understand how the wigs work into I don't understand how the wigs and the nails work into WNBA, by the way. Especially not as rough as they're starting to get. I don't understand because the giant nails. It's like, how can you shoot? Oh, you can't. That's right. Never mind. Gonna say, how can you shoot with those nails on? But clearly we know you can't. We see it. I was, it's funny when WNBA first debuted and I was down on it because it was bad. It was a bad product that nobody really wanted. And it was just a sop to liberalism and feminism. And people got on me. Why don't you just give it a chance? Why don't you just give it a chance? We're here. We're here. Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that. All right, let's move on. What do we have? Oh, investigation into Liberty County. I don't understand any of this. I don't know if you saw this story or not. Friday, 2 Liberty County elementary school students were placed on the wrong bus and got off at the wrong destination. The students, who are siblings, left Frank Long Elementary School at approximately 2:37 p.m. and despite having transportation information attached to their backpacks, boarded the wrong school bus driven by a substitute driver. When the children's family notified the district the children were not at their designated bus stop, district officials and law enforcement canvassed the area where they were believed to have exited the bus. The students were located at approximately 3:58 p.m., reunited with their family at Frank Long Elementary School. Now, I guess the big problem I have with this is they've got transportation information attached to themselves, to their backpacks. I know sometimes I'm just opining for the old days. I get it. Some days maybe I'm yelling at clouds. I'm telling the kids to get off my lawn. But whatever happened to the days of your bus is number 42? In the afternoons, when you leave school, you look for the bus that says 42. When the bus that says 42 on it is there, you get on the bus that says 42. When the bus is near your house and it stops and it opens the door, you get off the bus. Why are we having to attach transport and get people to put them on the buses? Well, the system is such that the kids can't keep it. The bus numbers are flexible, or I don't know what the excuse. I really don't know what the excuse is for this. But again, why are we counting on the adults telling the kids which bus to get on? Why don't we count on the kids to know which bus to get on? We talk about, raising generations of helpless people, kids who just can't do things for themselves. We're literally teaching kids, you just get on whatever bus they tell you to get on. And if you don't know anybody on the bus and it doesn't look familiar and it's not the same bus driver, don't worry about it. And then just get off wherever they tell you to get off. Okay, I'll just get on the bus here because they told me to. And then you ride around, oh, they told me to get off here. I don't know any of these kids. Why don't you know any of the kids? Why would you getting on the bus not go, these are not my neighbors. These are not the kids I ride on the bus with. But again, you just go, hey, you're on bus 42. Got it? Got it. What number? 42. All right. You know 42. I know 42. Get on bus 42. Go home. Get off in the morning when you get on the bus, you're going to get on bus 42 because the only bus going to come by the house. This is not difficult stuff. I'm not sure why it's being made so difficult. Why do they have to have transportation information on their backpack? Just tell them to get on the bus. WNBA should be allowed to carry pepper spray from when they get assaulted. Well, there you go. There you go. But yeah, I totally don't understand why this was a gigantic happening and why it even took place at all, to tell you the truth. This was sent to me a lot over the weekend as both evidence that the flock cameras are a problem and also the system works. I mean, can flock be misused? Yes. What happens when flock is misused? People are fired. And it goes on their poster record. They're not going to go to another department and not see, the department's not going to see, oh, there it is. He misused flock. Well, we'll pass on this guy. Their law enforcement careers are largely ruined unless they find one of those places that takes anybody. But the reality is it works. I say what I've said before, which is if a police officer misuses a gun, which has happened before, are we going to just get rid of guns for the police? I don't think so. Kids that later become adults are not taught to think, only regurgitate trendy headlines. Yeah, exactly. And this is as simple as this is like the beginning of it. This is the basics. You go to school, get on bus 42. Which one? 42. Or, later when we were in school, they started naming them based on the year they were bought and a number. So you get on 8137. You'll be fine. Just get on 8137 area. Which one? 8137. We got it. Motorcyclist injured, I-16 hit and run, Bullitt County. The good news, the bad news is they can't determine how to say what the vehicle was. Because at one point it's a motorcycle, and then at one point it's a three-wheeled vehicle, but then they keep calling it a bike. And I remind you again that the bi and bike means two. But the good news is the injuries are not life-threatening. Still had to go to the hospital, but at least the injuries were not life-threatening. This was interesting, I thought. And, the Supreme Court has basically said in college admissions, you cannot play the race card, the gender card, the sexual orientation card, et cetera, et cetera. And Duke Law has said, hold our beer. Duke Law has told the entire country, hold our beer. Let me give this to you really quickly. Supreme Court's 2023 decision in Students for Fair Admissions versus Harvard prohibited race-conscious admissions, but apparently the leadership at Duke University's law school took that as a challenge to discriminate in less obvious ways. The Department of Justice announced on Thursday that its investigation concluded Duke's law school intentionally discriminated to the benefit of Black and Hispanic students by using racial proxies when admitting the classes since the SFFA decision. The DOJ's investigation found damning internal communications and documents that explain how the law school developed mechanisms to identify minority applicants and craft a more racially diverse student body despite its purportedly race-neutral policies and lack of racial dating on applicants' data. The law school staff emphasized DEI as one of their most important values in 2023, while they further committed to work even harder towards achieving a racially diverse class. After the SFFA ruling, the law school revised its official mission statement so that it emphasized building a legal profession that embodies a commitment to values such as equal justice and a diversity of perspective and experience. And again, note that the diversity of perspective never, ever, ever, ever means conservatism, which is a difference in perspective for most of these people. The law school prompted applicants to submit a short essay discussing how they would advance the mission statement. Admissions staff had a diversity/services tag for labeling an applicant's characteristics that strongly correlated with a particular racial background. The data are revealing Black and Hispanic students were admitted with noticeably lower test scores. In 2025, for example, the admitted median LSAT score for Black and Hispanic students were 166 and 171 respectively, while the admitted median score for Asian and white students were 173 out of the maximum 180. The DOJ notes that median LSAT scores of Asian and white applicants who were rejected in 2024-25 were 2 points higher than those of Black students who were admitted. Yeah. While that is statistically significant, the DOJ notes that the advantage was even greater prior to the SFFA decision. So, in other words, we're still bad. We're just not as bad as we were. In plain terms, Duke used proxies to distinguish and accept its preferred minorities, then sent rejection letters to more qualified students of disfavored races. The applicant level data produced by Duke Law indicate that a Black or Hispanic student has a substantially higher likelihood of being offered admission than a white or Asian student with the same academic credentials, the DOJ in its findings letter says. So again, same score, weight will be given to Black or Hispanic. That's not equality. In fact, slightly better score for white student, Black or Hispanic student still gets the by virtue of experience, which is how they decided to hide their race preferences. Under experience, your life experience, of course. Let's see. People have to be able to blame someone else. No personal responsibility. This is true. This is true. For lawsuit to me. The Duke one? Yeah, absolutely it does. Absolutely it does. Zero doubt about that. Plus, they get federal grants. Ha! Remember I said grants are the devil? Here we go. When the Supreme Court said it's illegal to discriminate on the basis of race in admissions, it meant that it's illegal to discriminate on the basis of race in admissions. It's particularly concerning that one of the most prestigious law schools in the country refuses to follow the law. But as we know from previous DOJ investigations under the second Trump administration, Duke University isn't the only institution of higher learning that's refused to comply with SFFA. Reviews found that both Yale's and UCLA's medical schools similarly evaded the law. As recipients of taxpayer funds through federal grants, these universities cannot treat Title VI as optional guidance or mere suggestion. This is when I say grants are the devil. These guys want to discriminate against white people. They can. They just have to not accept federal money. But the federal money says you got to treat everybody equally, at least under this administration. Future administrations will probably not have a problem with this. These universities cannot treat Title VI as optional guidance or mere suggestion or ignore crystal clear SCOTUS decisions that they dislike. While proponents of affirmative action, a long-running euphemism for discrimination, insist on the supposed virtues of diversity in a classroom and equitable outcomes, the Civil Rights Act doesn't have a clause exempting university admissions staff who believe they're acting for a righteous cause. More fundamentally, disadvantaging qualified white and Asian students for the sake of optics is a morally backward practice that shouldn't require unceasing legal and administrative effort to extricate. So, great piece there this morning. Editorial in National Review. I want to get to some of the audio clips that we've got this morning. Because this stuff is, there's some pretty good stuff here. First off, AOC has officially admitted that everything they were doing 6 years ago was crazy. You don't believe me? Here she is on This Week.
Is that Francesca Hong has made clear her present stances to her electorate.
Yeah, she's moved away from a lot
right,
of that.
She's moved away from it. And I have a local city councilman that has this saying, woke one was crazy.
Woke one was crazy. Okay, that's
yeah, woke one was crazy. Oh, this is woke too. This isn't crazy. This is sane. See, she's defending Francesca Hong. Francesca Hong is a socialist who is running for the governorship of Wisconsin. We've talked about it a little bit on this stream, but one of the things she has done is said she doesn't like Thanksgiving because someone was oppressed. Thanksgiving is about oppression. Again, liking America is always about oppression. Being thankful is about oppression. Eating food on Thanksgiving is about oppression. Now, the funny thing is she has walked that back. She has absolutely walked it back. That is 100% true. She no longer says Thanksgiving is about oppression. But why does she say that? Because she's running for governor. But she still says she's bothered by her proximity to whiteness, which, by the way, her proximity to whiteness is she's married to a white guy and she has a half-white son. But she's concerned about her proximity to whiteness. Her proximity. Now, we used to call that your family. But now it's your proximity to whiteness. And again, you know, when people sit there and when you talk about a lot of the stuff being hatred of white people and that kind of thing, and people think you're overreacting. I mean, this is literally when a major party candidate for governor, as Francesca Hong is worried about her proximity to whiteness, like worried about being near white people, which, by the way, again, is her son and her husband. There's something very wrong with the thought. But AOC, oh yeah, woke one was crazy. She says that as she gives her crazy eyes. And woke one, the difference between woke one and woke two, I guess that's what we're calling this now. They don't believe anything different. They're just smarter about not saying it. That's the difference between woke 1 and woke 2. Woke 1, they just said it. Woke 2, they try not to say it, but they still mean it. They still believe it, and they still want to implement it. That's your difference. Speaking of, as we said, the Democrat Socialists of America, this is Dr. Francis Gill on LA TV talking about the Democrat Socialists of America's goal of defunding the police. Go.
That DSA takes. Let's talk about some of them. Your policy agenda on law enforcement is to defund police, ultimately to get rid of police departments, correct?
Well, what I would say is that we're dramatically overspending on police right now.
I understand. The goal is to defund the police departments so we don't need them in the future.
I think what we really want to see is a horizon where folks are not reliant on armed enforcement to meet our public safety needs.
That's right. We can't have public relying on armed enforcement to meet our public safety. And again, this is President Adar and the Cylons making a deal to disarm.
But it says defund police on the website. That's your goal. And also to get rid of prisons and jails, correct?
Yes.
So if my daughter is assaulted and raped, is there any agency that would seek to find her assailant and bring him to justice?
Of course. Yeah, of course.
What
absolutely.
would it be if not police, and where would he be if not a jail?
So I guess I really want to avoid getting kind of caught into these hypotheticals and talk more about the reality that we're actually facing right now.
Wait, so the reality we're facing right now is that nobody gets raped? Is that the reality that we're facing right now?
That we're spending absolutely outrageous amounts of money on police and policing, and we're not spending money on things that actually make people safe and feel safe, which is things like actually well-lit streets. The streetlights in Los Angeles, everybody agrees it's a huge problem.
So that's right. We need to spend the money on streetlights, because if we have streetlights, well, what happens actually in streetlights is it's easier to rob someone because you can see them. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we got to stop having police officers. Get rid of police, get rid of jail. She says, she admits that. The goal, get rid of police, get rid of jails. And then he says, okay, so if my daughter's right, well, I don't want to get into these hypotheticals, but you have to get into these hypotheticals. You know, I hate to say this, but how do you plan for something if you don't get into hypotheticals? How do you plan for something? I mean, you know, they have like tabletop simulations and that kind of thing. Why do they do that? Those are hypotheticals. We don't want to get into the hypotheticals. Hypotheticals help you understand what you're preparing yourself for. They help you be ready for when something does happen. And, the guy's suggestion that if his daughter is raped and there are no police and no jails, then who is it that finds the guy and brings him to justice? That's not even a far-fetched hypothetical. You know, if it had been 150 years since there'd been a rape, then you could go, well, come on, man, let's not do that. We can't really do this. It's not a thing. Come on. But it is a thing. It is real. There are criminals. There are rapists. There are murderers. A lot of them here illegally. Most of them not here illegally. But you can't just, well, that's a hypothetical. I don't really want to get into the hypotheticals here. But these are the guys that are taking over the Democrat Party. These guys I've warned you for years are sitting on the periphery of the Democrat Party. It's kind of like the LGBTQ movement, and on the periphery of the LGB movement was the T. And then T got put in the mid, in the mainstream, and still sitting on the fringes of those things at every event, every parade, everything, every gathering is the NAMBLA guys. The NAMBLA guys are helping push that stuff into the mainstream big time. I'm telling you here, hear me now, believe me later. All right. So this is Mohammed Al-Sayed. Yeah, the hypothetical is more likely than her reality. Absolutely. All right. Mohammed Al-Sayed is the Democrat nominee for Senate in Michigan. He just won that last week, if you remember. And he's talking about health care for all that the Democrat socialists want.
Medicare free and universal if you increase taxes. So if you are elected and make this push, would you need to increase taxes?
As I've said across this campaign, I am for taxing billionaires their wealth.
What about people who
And
make less
for
than $1
the
billion and
average
less than
person-
$1 million, though, Dr. El-Sayed?
And now what's funny is the desperation. Democrats recognize that Democrat socialism is socialism and that it's not popular and that it isn't effective and that it doesn't work. I've never seen these guys go at Democrats like this before. The mainstream Democrats, like Kristen Welker on Meet the Press, which is who this is, they're terrified. I've never seen them. I've seen them badger Republicans like this. I've never seen them badger Democrats like this. Suddenly, they're badgering Democrats because they know these guys are going to sink their party.
People making less than $1 million.
So for the average person, and you look at your W-2, if you're an employee who gets paid every 2 weeks or 4 weeks, after you pay your taxes, the next biggest check that comes off the top of your pay stub is to your health insurance company. So imagine instead of paying that to your health insurance company, whose CEO makes $20 million a year, instead you paid a little bit more in taxes for healthcare that you wouldn't lose if you lost your job or turned 26 or got married or got divorced.
I like, by the way, he throws in the healthcare that you would lose if you turn 26. That's when you're on your parents'. And why are people still at 26 having to be on their parents' healthcare? That was one of those Obamacare things. And honestly, it's been so popular. It's one of the reasons you can't repeal Obamacare, because people love having their kids on their own health insurance. Again, sucking from the parent teat until they're 26 years old. But I digress.
I think all of us would be a lot more interested in that kind of a system if we knew that our healthcare would be free at the point of care and would be free without having to worry about losing it in general. So there's an opportunity here, I think, to trade what we give to a big corporation who gets to decide who we get to see and who we don't for a little bit more paid into FICA. And I think that's a trade that's worth making. I think the broader public understands that that's a trade worth making, considering how many people are holding medical debt, a third of all Michigan households right now.
Just to be very clear, you're describing this trade-off. You are effectively acknowledging that people making less than $1 million could see their taxes go up. I just want to be very clear. Is that a yes?
I'm saying that we'd be paying for healthcare in a different way. Instead of paying a health insurance company whose CEO makes $20 million, I would much rather pay for durable healthcare into a government, which, of course, we all know provides healthcare for seniors who need healthcare the most. So if I'm trading paying a CEO to make more money or paying government to guarantee me healthcare,
Medicare free and universal.
So there you go. They're going to raise taxes on everybody to get to the free healthcare threshold. And again, one of the reasons why health expenses are so high is that the government has got their fingers so deeply entwined in it. And even before Obamacare, it was going up because the government was spending so much money on it. After Obamacare, it's been impossible to have reasonable health care in this country, which again, they broke it and they tried to break it. But I've never seen these guys push back like this. Theory, the Democrats don't really fear the policies of the DSA, but their internals are showing they could cost them momentum. Well, yeah, no, I mean, look, let's be honest. These guys, no, I don't think we're talking about different things here. They are terrified of these DSA guys because they are going to wreck their party, and that's what they don't like. That's what they're fighting against. The Democrats have a very, very, very lengthy history of not actually telling you what they want to do to you. And the DSA are different in that they actually tell you what they want to do to you. And so you have that. But the other interesting thing, and I was thinking about this over the weekend, is these guys, they hate billionaires, they hate millionaires, and we've got to tax them. We got to tax them. These are millionaires. And honestly, then they'll say, there shouldn't even be any billionaires. Okay, so let's say you get in office and you tax the billionaires and you tax the millionaires. And then you make it so that you get your wish and there are no longer any millionaires and billionaires. Who are you going to tax next? Who is it that you're going to tax? You got nobody left to tax. You got no wealth left to tax. I saw somebody actually trying to make the case that life in the Soviet Union was really good for most of the time people were in the Soviet Union, and like objectively untrue. But I actually saw an academic making that case the other day, and people want to know why we're kind of down on academics at this point. Just crazy. All right, let's jump on the comments here really quickly. The left want to get rid of police so they can justify their vigilante justice. I don't. No, I don't think. I would agree with the first part of that. I don't know that I would agree with the second part of that. And by the way, I have you right here. I don't know that they want to justify vigilante. I mean, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the riots and all of that. But that's all politics. Like, just they don't want you to arrest shoplifters ever. They just want to send a social worker to their house to make them feel bad. But there's no real vigilante justice for these guys. They don't want real justice. Justice is that the guy who stole things only stole because he's poor, and the people who he stole from have something and he didn't have it. So it's really just kind of a way of equalizing everything when you think about it. That's their thing. Free anything's a lie. Someone's paying you. You're not. Absolutely. I pay more now. That's interesting. I pay more now on Medicare. That's probably a discussion we need to have. The only ones that think government can fix anything is the government. And there you go. If I steal from my neighbor, it's free. Correct. I remember debating with our now past Democrat friend. I said, why not just go ahead and do what the Democrats want to eventually do and go Medicare for all? He never saw that was the end game of Obamacare. Oh, that now past Democrat friend. You're talking about Frank, the late great Frank. Because government budgets never decrease. No, they don't. Let's defund foreign aid. The defunding foreign aid thing is just it's a nonsensical argument. I talked about this the other day. First off, what we throw out in foreign aid is nothing next to what we throw out in benefits to the American people. We always hear we're spending money on foreign aid, and we could be using that money to help our people. You don't know how many hundreds of times more money we are using to give to our own people. But beyond that, if you pull back all foreign aid, just get rid of the foreign aid. You know what's eventually going to happen? China and Russia will have every country in the world in their back pocket, and then they're going to come for us. I don't agree at all with the notion of foreign aid, getting rid of foreign aid. Insurance companies all in Medicare, all in it. That's true. It's okay to shoot your rifle. That's not good. That's definitely not good. You're talking about like the people being defended shooting Trump, which is, again, it is amazing what happens. It is amazing what happens when you're just psychotic about somebody. Frank was me. No, you weren't Frank. No, you're saying you didn't see that the end game of Obamacare was Medicare for all? No, we're talking about the late Frank. He's deceased. He was a Savannah guy. Had a bit of a drinking problem. Weapons are bought with foreign aid. Yes, they are. And where are they bought from? They're bought from good old-fashioned American companies. Let's see. Don't forget, Obamacare was originally a Heritage Foundation. So they say. But if you look at what Obamacare was, first off, what came out of Heritage Foundation was a state-by-state system, not a national mandate. But again, I'm not a fan of it. And there are things the Heritage Foundation has done that were great over time, and there are. Okay. I thought you were saying he was me. No, Frank was Mr. No. Yes, he was Mr. No. Yes. Okay, I see your typo now. Heritage Foundation has some hits and they have some misses. Right now, they're having a lot of misses, I've noticed of late. Not good stuff. Let's see. I debated Joel C. on this. On Obamacare or on foreign aid? Because I'm going to tell you again, I hear it out of our guys a lot. We got to get rid of all the foreign aid, and you don't get rid of the foreign aid. And again, what we spend in foreign aid is nothing next to what we spend in entitlements. It's not even close. Oh, Obamacare. Okay. I'm 60. I'm scared for the next generation. Some of them are going to be okay. And eventually, look, here's the thing too. Some of them are going to figure it out. And we just have to hope for the ones who figure it out. I mean, I will just tell you, if you spend any time chatting with G-Man, and G-Man's gone, he's gone now. But G-Man's got his head on straight on policy. Weapons that kill Americans are bought with American money. This is like I'm arguing with a neighbor's cat. No, that's not correct. What weapons that kill Americans are being bought with American foreign aid money? Again, we give foreign assistance. Now, if you're talking about UNRWA helping out, Gaza, that ain't American money technically. That's United Nations money, some of which is ours. But I think we're doing a pretty good job of clamping down on that. But that's not foreign aid. That's not what's considered U.S. foreign aid. That's sad. I thought he might be well. Oh no, you didn't know about all that. Yeah, no, we did a whole thing on the program where we talked about his passing, and actually heard from his sister, one of his sisters, who thanked me for the nice words that we had. We had some, we had some good back and forth with Mr. No over the years. He was one of our valued Savannah contributors, and we added a lot of Savannah contributors. That was good. All right. Speaking of contributors, I need to get out of here because I got to get ready to go to that other job. And, but I will just say, because people are still asking, when are you going to be back on the radio? I don't know. And if I gave you a time frame, you wouldn't be happy. I would say it could be anywhere from 3 weeks to January. Again, why we don't know yet, but we know we've got a number of different things that we've said to them. We sent them a very lengthy set of, let's say, suggestions Friday. Long term, I want to be out of the agreement. And, a lot of this stuff, like I was signed a 3-year extension last year under the premise, we want you here. So you say, okay, fine. They want me here. Let's sign. Turns out they didn't want me here. So, again, if you don't want me here, then let me go be here for somebody else. This is what I do. This is what I've done for 32 years. I've done it here. I'm born here. I'm raised here. There's no reason to not let me keep doing it. So we've got a volley to them. We'll see what they say. We're engaged in the game right now. And, ultimately what I want to do is go out there and yes, at the end of the day, I want to kick their butts. At the end of the day, I want to eat their lunch. I'm not going to lie about that. I want to beat them in ratings, and I want to beat them in revenue. I'm not going to lie about all that. But we're just not at that point yet. And as I said, could be as soon as 3 weeks. Could be as long as January. Don't know yet. Won't know till we hear back from them, which I'm hoping to do this week. And I can't go into a lot of the details. I can't go into a lot of the negotiating because, you don't play your hand. But we have some good arguments. I'll just say that. Some very, very, very good arguments. And on that note, I'm going to get out of here and go get on the road and head over to the Pate building and say hi to everybody there. So I will see you guys in the morning. We'll do more of this tomorrow. And I'll go ahead and tell you, I'm thinking of in preparation for when we go back on the radio and kind of getting back into a routine, I'll tell you this is a thing. Most of you know that when I was doing the radio show, I would get up at 3:00 every morning. My alarm clock would go off at 3, and I never hit snooze. Now that's not saying I wouldn't lay there a little extra time sometimes, but I never hit snooze. Alarm clock would go off at 3. And I would get up, I'd be at the station at 4, do my work. Once I got back into, oh, by the way, you're going to work every day, my body, like I started waking up at 3. Every Wednesday, I woke up at 2. Every other day last week, I was awake at 3. Because my body was just like, all right, this is your time to get up to go to work. This morning, 2. So literally, this will be my 6th day of work with the county. 4 of those days, my body just woke me up at 3. 2 of those days, it woke me up at 2. So it's just, certain things, it's hard to tamp down. But the plan will be to get up at 4 and get ready, start doing the prep at 5, and then go on the air from 6 to 9. Now, that having been said, I am giving some real serious, as things get closer, I'm giving some real serious consideration to starting the stream a little earlier and moving it to 6. But we'll see, again, because I may just ease down to 4:00 and then ease into show prep at 5 and then ease into going on the stream at 6. And so that way, when we're ready to go, we're ready to go. So do me a favor, keep doing what you've been doing. Keep growing the channel. I appreciate the fact that you're doing that. You're sharing it. You're liking it. You're making it so that other people will be able to see it and find it much more easily. We have hit 1,133 subscribers. We're always looking for more. You can help us by sharing it, by liking it, by subscribing and hitting the bell that notifies you when we're on. All of that helps. When you like it and share it on Facebook, it helps as well. But in trying to build that YouTube part of it, go subscribe, go like, commenting, all of that helps. So we appreciate that. On that note, I'm going to get out of here. But have a great day. I will see you guys in the morning. We'll still stay at 7 this week, but we'll see what happens from there. And also, by the way, yes, go see Gaston at Animal Services. He is a great dog. There are $600 worth of goodies plus his adoption fees added in here now at this point. I had somebody suggesting over the weekend, oh, it's great. He loves you to death. Because he and I have a good rapport. Of course, I had a good rapport with I've always had a good rapport with dogs. That's the thing. We were having dinner with somebody Saturday night, and one of the ladies that was at dinner was like, you remember when you used to not like dogs? And that thing again, which was never, ever, 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 ever true. Ever. Anyway, yeah, I had a good rapport with, like I said, almost every one of the dogs we saw Friday wound up climbing into my lap at some point, which was great, which was fun. But he's terrific, great dog. He's on the list, which means we got to find him a home. And but somebody suggested over the week, you need to adopt him. You guys are great. And I can't adopt him. I got Lady. Lady's not in the room. Sweetie's in the room. Lady's not in the room. But Lady recognizes Sweetie's part of her pack, but there's no room for any others in her pack. So, like Mrs. Rifen, me, G-Man, Sweetie, that's her pack. There are no applications for joining the pack for her. So, and she's just like that. That's just how she is. And yeah, she will not tolerate another dog in the household. It would be fight after fight after fight after fight after fight. And things would get peed on and things would get pooped on because they're marking territory left and right. And then there would be fights and fights and fights and fights. And it's not fair to her. It's not fair to him. It's not fair to Sweetie. It's not fair to us. And we knew what Lady, we knew essentially about Lady when we took her on. And we didn't mind because we weren't planning on adding to the fleet But yeah, I can't bring him in. I'd love to. I can't. That having been said, somebody should. And I'll keep bugging you guys about it until such time as you do. All right. Now I really do have to get out of here. I will see you tomorrow. Have fun.